right, welcome back to Coffee Cafe Week 1. So the last thing that we left off was a business expense. So we did record that we recorded Kim Robinson's bill, okay, that we received. Here it is. So this is where we are leaving off here, is that we end up receiving from furniture store and assume that delivery charges are split 75% to the counter and 25% to the shelves. So here is us receiving a bill. Sorry about that. Okay. So how do I record this transaction? Let's analyze this bill a little closely, okay? So here, right, I've received a bill from furniture store that is designated to come arrive here. The invoice is number 69. We got terms as net 15, delivery to the store on the 7th. Shipping point, here is the detailed information that we purchased one counter for that $1,033, and then we bought the 5 display shelves at $102 per, giving you a grand total quoted for $1,543. Okay, here we were charged tax because we purchased some furniture, so we got charged sales tax, and here we also got charged a delivery fee for $100. Hence why I said that delivery charges are going to be assumed to be split 75% to the counter and 25% to the shelves. Okay, so how are we going to journalize this transaction? There's a lot to take in. Okay, how are we going to journalize this transaction? Okay, first we need to identify what did we buy. What did I buy?
We have bought the counter and 5 display shelves.
We bought the counter and display shelves. So in my chart of accounts, do I have a counter and display shelves?
You have the counter.
Yes, we do. 1320
and display shelves.
1340. Okay, so good. Now in this case, I received a bill. My assumption is I may have some more pressing things that I need to pay for ahead of time, so I'm going to take advantage of the terms that was given to me for net 15. So therefore, what am I creating? How am I paying for these items? If I'm choosing to pay them later.
It's on accounts payable.
You're going to do it in accounts payable because here you're given 15 days to pay. It's not a financing or anything like that. In this case, we are going to have to pay them in 15 days, so we are creating a accounts payable. Okay? So therefore, we purchased some fixed assets here, right? We purchased some furniture. We purchased a counter, and we purchased some display shelves. And we're going to record this on an account. Yes. Okay. So 130201324 and then you said accounts payable we said was 20,000. Okay? Now here's where we need to figure out what are we going to do? How much is going to go towards the actual counter and how much is going to go to the actual display shelves? In this case, we would need to do some calculations, right? How do we split the tax?
3/4 by 1/4, right? Or you're going to do it exact?
Sales tax?
No, sales tax has to be by the amount.
Yes, sales tax has to be by the amount. So in this case, we have to prorate it, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so in this case, my one counter was $1,033 even, and then my display shelves are $510. Okay? So therefore, I need to split the tax by prorating it. So I'm going to do equal round here. So how much tax is going to go towards the counter?
The counter 85.22.
85.22. And how much is going to go to my display shelves?
$42.08.
4208. And let's add that up. Does that equal the amount of sales tax that we were charged for $127.30?
Yes.
Yes. So therefore, there you go. Now, what do we do about the delivery cost? Now, here's the assumption, okay? You're buying display shelves and you're buying a counter. In this case, why is this being split based on percentage, right? In real life, if you are ever going to get into this exact decision where you have to split up the shipping, how would you split the shipping? Well, in this case, how is shipping normally charged?
For the
Normally.
whole thing.
Well, normally. How do you charge for shipping? If you go to UPS and send a package, how do you know how much you're paying for shipping?
Because they scale it out.
It's based on weight, correct, right? Or it's based on the size of the box that you purchase, right? But in this case, we're going to go based off of weight. Now, if you're going to want a complete accurate depiction of every single item, right? You would weigh them, right? How much is the counter and how much are the display shelves? But in this case, right, we are not going to go that route. We're not going to do completely specific to down to the specifications, right? We're going to scale it down to based on the item itself, right? A counter is assumingly going to weigh more than 5 simple display shelves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just the assumption, because a counter, it can't be flimsy. It can't be lightweight, because the counter needs to be able for us to put a register on it, or even be able for us to serve coffee over it, right? It has to hold some kind of heavy weight for it to stand up on its own, right? So the natural assumption here is the counter is obviously going to weigh more than simple display shelves, right? Simple display shelves, we might have to, put them on the wall, hang them on the wall, whatever it is, right? So in this case, our simple assumption is, well, if we can't split it half and half, because obviously the counter is going to be more than the display shelves. So that's why, as the accountant, I went ahead and told you, just go ahead and split the shipping 75% to the counter and 25% to the display shelves. Now, if you want to go through a second way of measuring specifications, you can choose to go by price. Okay? So obviously right here, right, we know for a fact that the counter is going to cost more. So you can split the freight according to cost as well. It's not recommended because the true essence of how shipping gets created is based on weight. It's not based on price. But if you want to be very specific about that, then the second way that you can do it is through the cost. So obviously the cost right here, you can see it's $1,000 compared to the unit compared to the display shelves, which is only 500, right? That's already, you could split the if you do a rough estimate, that's roughly 2/3 is going to go to the counter, and 1/3 is going to go to the display shelves. But in this case, I don't want to use cost. let's go ahead and just go ahead, since I'm the accountant and you're the bookkeeper, I'm telling you, split the cost 75% to the counter and 25% to the display shelves. So how do I split the tax? How do I split the shipping here?
75-25.
$75 to the counter, $25 to the display shelf. So in this case, grand total, how much is going to be my counter and how much is going to be for my display shelves?
Okay, 1,193.22 is going to be your counter, and 577.08 is going to be your display shelves. And
Good.
that equals sums to 177030, which is on your invoice.
Correct. So in this case, I got 1193.22 and I have 577.08, giving me the grand total of that 1770 and 30 cents. Good. Right? So therefore, that's how you would be able to do this, because we're buying a fixed asset. What is the cost of buying a fixed asset? What determines? What determines the total cost of a fixed asset?
Everything that gets it to your store.
Plus ready for service. Now in this case, a counter, straightforward.
Oh, yeah, plus service.
Yeah. In this case, a counter is already you just have to prop it up. There's no installation necessary. And same thing with the display shelf. It's not going to be difficult to, put some nails in the wall, right? You don't need to hire somebody to install it into your wall. Okay, so in this case, that's exactly what we're gonna do here. Is they are all ready for service. Now in this case, we have all the information that we need for this particular transaction, right? First thing we have here is, who did we receive this bill from?
From the furniture store.
Okay, what was the proof of transaction?
Your invoice number.
Good. In this case, you do need to disclose that you bought a counter and display shelves.
It already says it on the invoice.
It already says it. It also says it right here on your
on the
journal.
ledger.
Yeah, on your journal. Okay. Now, in this case, what other information would you need to put in here? Well, you could put what are the terms?
What are the terms? I don't. Net 15.
Net 15, and that should be good enough information, right? Because you already disclosed what you purchased, you disclosed that you received a bill, and so on and so forth. So this is pretty much now done. Now, what step comes next?
Subsidiary.
It's not subsidiary.
You want to do the general journal? We didn't write a check. So the general journal? General ledger, I mean?
General ledger to update our accounts. Yes, that's what I taught you, is to, once you're done posting to the journal, you're going to go straight to the ledger to update your accounts. Okay, good. So the first thing I have here is that I purchased some assets. So I purchased a counter. So right here, okay? If you want to be specific on what the purchase entailed, right? Here I am at the counter. Today is the 7th. We purchased the counter for $1,033 plus 8.25% tax, which yield me $85.22 plus $75 to shipping. Okay, is the reason why my counter is now $1,193.22. Okay, so again, we are on General Journal page 2. Right, so now my account balance in my counter is going to be $1,193.22. Okay. We can go ahead and scroll down to find our display shelf. So here we are right under the desk set here. So here it is. And we purchased the display shelves, right? We purchased 5 display shelves, right? And then you could put at $105 each, right? Giving you a total of $510 plus 8.25% tax, which gave you a total of $42.08 plus $25 shipping. Okay? We are on General Journal page 2, which will give me a total debit of $577.08. Okay? 577.08. Okay? Now, we also need to update my liabilities because now I just received a bill and now I owe more money. Okay, today is the 7th. Okay, we received invoice number 69. Okay, General Journal page 2. And this time I'm going to increase my liability by $17.70.30. Now, this time, this formula is going to work differently than it is on the debits side, right? On your assets and your expenses, right? The general rule of thumb is up 1 and you're going to add your debits and then subtract your credits, right? In this case, this formula is going to work slightly different. Same concept, except it's going to work a little different, right? This time, you're going to take your previous balance, right? And you're going to add your credits because credits increase a credit balance, right? And then you're going to subtract your debits all the way to the left, okay? So that's the difference here is you're going to go up 1 plus left 2 minus left 3, okay? Because the one on here, this debit column here on the third one in, or in this case, the one that's right, that's the first one on the left side of this column that says normal balance on it. You're never ever going to use that column because normally liabilities have a credit balance. So in this case, you would skip this row, this column right here. And what you got to identify is what are your current journal entries that you're plugging in for your debits and credits. That is what's going to affect your overall normal balance. So in this case, right, you're going to go up 1 plus left 2 minus left 3. Okay, will give you your grand total of $2,770.30, right? Your original bill plus $1,000. Okay? And however you want to format it, whether you like dollar style, I don't know why I have this as accounting style. I do prefer to have it comma style because sometimes the number sign, or in this case the dollar sign, can be easily mistaken as a 5, right? So there you go. All right. And yep. There's that one. Now, we need to also update that we received a bill, right? Now that I finished my journal and I entered it into my ledger, what do I need to do next?
Go to your subsidiary.
Yes, because now I owe somebody money. I owe furniture store money, and I need to record this bill, okay? In case maybe the machine might break down, so I have the bill to, or the invoice to tell me that I can return it or whatever it is, get a vendor credit, right? So in this case, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and update my subsidiary ledger here to also identify that now I have an account balance. right? So in this case, let me find furniture store. Here they are, furniture store. 6, 7. It is up to you what you want to put in here. I'm going to actually identify that I purchased a counter for was it $1,033. Okay, plus tax of, what did I say tax was? $83.22.
Yeah, 85.22.
85.22 plus $75 shipping. Or if you want to identify however, okay, giving you your grand total of what was it? $1193.22 plus I bought 5 display shelves at $105 each, right? Which gave you a total of $510 plus $42.08 worth of tax plus $25 of shipping. Okay. And yep, and then of course your invoice is going to be invoice number 69. Post reference is General Journal page 2. Okay. And the terms, were you given terms?
Net 15.
Net 15. So once again, let's practice that formula. Since we don't have a discount due date, I do have the ability, have a due date. It's going to be in 15 days. So I received on the 7th, so plus 15. When is my bill actually due?
I didn't get that far. I'm still on the, you're typing faster than me.
Okay. So if I received it on the 7th, and I have 15 days to pay, right? You can either count the days, right? 7, if it's the 7th today, add 15, okay? So you have the 8th, the 9th, the 12th, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, plus another 5 days, 19, 20, 21, 22. So you should be owing on the 22nd of June, right?
57708.
Okay. Let's see. We did not have any down payments or deposits required for this purchase. So in this case, my invoice amount, right, was quoted for $17.70 and 30 cents. Right? And did we pay? No. So in this case, my formula is your invoice amount minus your prepaid, minus returns, minus discounts, minus payments. So here you should be owing furniture store $1,770.30. Okay. And I'll go ahead and give you some time there.
I'm all set.
Okay. So there you go. We entered in our first bill, and down below, my calculations had already calculated that. Now I owe Furniture Store $1,770.30. Okay. All right. So now that I entered in my journal, I posted to the ledger, and I entered in my bill, there's one more last thing that we need to do to ensure that our accounting is accurate, right? Now, in this case, right, we received our furniture, right? Now, in this case, what did we do prior to that? We sent out a purchase order to request for the display shelves and the counter, right?
Yes.
So I need to do my job to ensure that, yes, I did receive this purchase order, and how you ever want to fill it out, if you want to color code it to let you know that you received it, it is up to you. In this case, I'm going to identify, I believe it was the second one. Yes, the second one. Here's the counter. Here's the display shelves. It was quoted for that $1,543. Yes, right? Tax and shipping is going to be separate. Now, in this case, I'm going to also identify right here the date that I received it. So in this case, I'm going to enter in my date. Now, for some reason, the Excel, it's formatted, but it keeps unformatting for some reason. So you may have to reformat it to the cells that you want it to appear in. So I'm going to click Format Cell here. And I'm going to go ahead and make it a date format. There you go. So I'm going to click Date. And I want it to display just like this. Double click on it. So that means today is the 7th. So therefore, I received it on the 7th. And what was the invoice for that one? Invoice number 69. So your choice, if you prefer highlighting, which is a good emphasis so you know which ones that you received, that's up to you. If you want to check mark it green so you know that the order has been fulfilled, it's up to you. It's your book, so whatever makes it easier for you. But in this case, this is good enough because I'm able to see that I filled in this section here, so it tells me that I did receive my items. Okay? But you're more than welcome to color code them. So right now, I still have 2 pending transactions, for one for my display, for my desk set, and one for my coffee grinder and coffee brewer. Okay, so at least I know that for sure. Okay, so that is it for this transaction. Okay, so we can now move on to the next. Okay, so let's see what happened next. Okay, here we're going to do another purchase order. Okay, so purchase order number 304 to Furniture Store. And this time we're going to buy 10 sets of 1 bistro chair, 1 bistro table, and 2 chairs per unit price of I don't know what happened to my right here.
605.55. Total cost being $6,055.50.
Yep.
10 sets.
Yeah, 10 sets of 605. I think that's where I may have. Okay, 10 sets of 605.50. So let's go ahead and fill in our purchase order. Okay. Okay. So this is purchase order number 303 or 304, excuse me. Okay. Today is the 7th. We are ordering from Furniture Store. What are we buying? Table. And chair set. Okay, how many of them? 10. It's priced at 605 for 605.50 for each. So therefore, multiply across, it should be $6,055, and that's it. Okay? Okay, for a total of 605.50. Hold on. Am I missing a number? 605.50. Okay, it's 605.55.
Yeah. So did you wanted to do it 605? Yeah, 605.55.
Yeah, I made a typo there.
Okay.
605.55. So therefore, it should be 605.55.50. Okay. All right. So then, let's see what has happened next. Okay. So it says here that the down payment, okay, the down payment check written for Hallie Bros on the 6th, right, is for the wrong amount. Okay, so you're going to issue a revised version of the purchase order number 170303 R for revision, and we're going to void the check 1506 and reissue a new check for the correct amount. So in this case, for the correct amount of $1,171.87. That means whoever purchased this this order forgot to do, or in this case, recalculated it wrong. Maybe it was a typo. I don't know. But in this case, you issued the wrong amount for the wrong check. Okay? Maybe Haley Bros let you know that this wasn't a third of the down payment, so they are refusing the check. So in this case, we need to void the check. Now, if we void the check, what does that do on our books?
What it does on your books, if you revised it, if you if you have to, we already put in the check though, right?
Yes, but in this case, the Hallie Bros or whoever said that this check is for the wrong amount, and we need to void it.
Okay. All right. So don't we have to physically get that check back in order to void it?
No, you don't need to. You don't need to get the check back to void it. How can you?
Okay.
How can you void a check?
Um, yeah, I would just call my bank and tell them to cancel a check.
Correct. That's
All
exactly what
right.
you're gonna do. Now, by you voiding that check, what does that do?
That clears up that money from the check, so then you can reissue the amount.
What do you mean by clear up that check? Where does that money go?
Meaning that money hasn't left the account yet,
In this
or
case,
because
in our books, we've already recorded that it's been taken out.
yeah.
So where
So
does that?
you have to add it back in.
Yes. So in this case, we're going to be doing the reverse and re-entry system, because in this case, we made a mistake on our end. We made an error, right? We wrote the wrong check. We sent it out to Hallie Bros, and now we need to fix that mistake. So in this case, because we've already journalized it, everything looks good. Now we need to fix that error, because now they're wanting a new check, or in this case, we're willing to reissue a new check and revise the purchase order, because the purchase order said that we were quoted for 11 whatever what the original check was. I think it was 1140.22 or something like that, and now we need to revise it to make it represent that it's now 1171.87 instead. So in this case, we need to reverse the transaction to get that money back and void the check. And then we need to re-enter in because we're going to reissue a new check. So first things first is let's go ahead and revise that purchase order. Okay? Just so that we can have everything in order. Okay? So purchase order number 303, obviously there's nothing that we're needed to do here except for making sure that that we know on our end it's been revised. Okay, so I'm just going to add an R so then we know the difference between the first one and then the second one, right? Because the second one's going to include a different check amount. Okay? So that's what we need to put on our end just to ensure that we made a revision to this purchase order, that now the down payment isn't the $1140.22, it is now the $1171.87. Okay? So that's what we're doing here, right? So there you go. I revised my purchase order. Now I need to do the second thing, which is going to be voiding the check. You don't want Hallie Bros to have control and act and put in that check in there towards the actual for the actual payment, right? And claim they didn't take any money out, right? So in this case, you want to do your duties as a business to prevent that from happening, right? So you're going to go and void that check by calling up the bank and telling them, hey, can you please void this check? So we need to go to our check register, okay? Check number 1506. I'm going to put in here void. Okay, if you want it in red, you may do so, right? Just so then you are able and aware when you do your bank reconciliation, you know where that check went. It's been voided, right? Okay, it did not let me change that. Come on. I'm going to go ahead and color code this one then. It worked earlier, but now it's not working. There. Okay. So there you go. Now I know check number 1506 has been voided. So that means now I can go ahead and reverse my transaction, right? At least I know here by voiding the check, I know what amount is going to be returned back to my checking account, right? $1140.22. So that's exactly what I need to do is I need to record that the money is going to go back to my checking account, okay? For that $1140.22. So if the money is going to go back to my checking account, right? Where did I originally put that down payment?
You put it into the subsidiary one for a furniture store. No, for Haley Brothers.
I meant the account. What account did I place my down payment? The checking is, we're going to reverse it. So therefore, the checking account is put back the money. But where did I put my down payment? What account did I associate down payments, advance payments, prepayments? If it's that difficult for you to be able to understand that, you can always have the ability to scroll up and look at your transactions. So where did you put that money? Aha, Haley Bros, right here at the top of page 2. Haley Bros, for purchase order number 303, 1/3 down payment. What did I coded that down payment as?
My mind is starting to work. Prepaid accounts.
You put it under prepaid accounts. So if you're reversing this transaction,
checking in that prepaid account,
you need to undo the prepaid accounts as well. Okay? For the $1140.22, right? That's what we know because we looked at it from the check. Okay? So then, now that I'm going to reverse my transaction, I'm going to put my description as to reverse to reverse transaction on June 6th, right? And then you can also write void check number 1506 for purchase order number 17303. Okay? Whatever you want. So in this case, now that I've voided my transaction, I also need to undo everything. So therefore, I got to go back to my ledger and undo all of that as well. So I'm going to go to my assets.
18600.
Okay, going to go back to my assets, starting with my checking account, and I'm going to reverse that check, right? Today is, in this case, I'm not going to go back to that line and edit that information. I'm actually going to write in a new transaction in here to ensure that it is, that you're not making any deletions or anything like that. Because in this case, I'm, even though I am voiding the check, I still wrote the check number 1506. It still exists. And now I just have to write the check off as that you voided it. So that means check number 1506 you can't ever use because you already sent it out. So in this case, that's exactly what I need to do. I need to code it to say that check number 1506 has been voided. Okay? And we're still on General Journal page 2 here. And we're going to reverse that 11.40 and 22 cents. So therefore, that should basically undo that transaction, and it should bring you back to that 11.361.29. Okay? So right there, that is what I mean by doing the reverse transaction and then basically zeroing out the account, right? So this is what I mean, because you credited 11.40.22. Now that you're reversing it, you're zeroing it out by saying I'm canceling out that transaction. So therefore, my account balance went back to what it was originally before I wrote that check, right? So therefore, hence, I'm zeroing it out. Okay? So there's that one. And then I need to also do my prepaid accounts because since I voided that check, it's going to reverse the prepaid amount. Okay? Okay, so prepaid accounts is here. Okay? You can say you voided check 1506, which reverse down pay on purchase order number 170303. Okay. We're still on page 22, so that's going to reverse it. We're going to credit that out, which is going to bring your account back down from this amount back down to the original amount of 6654.17. Okay. All right. Now that's that there. Now the question is, I need to also make an addition to my subsidiary ledger because now I need to void that check. So if I go to my subsidiary ledger, I'm going to locate Hallie Bros. So here, right? Now here, how do I void this transaction? Because at the end of the day, I don't owe Hallie Bros anything, right? All I want you to do is I want you to keep this transaction there because all I want you to do is just edit this piece of information here to let you know that this transaction has been voided. Okay? It's been voided. Okay? So you're still leaving the proof that you did do something here, right? Hence why it's same thing in QuickBooks, right? When you void a transaction, it leaves the residue. It leaves the transaction coded here, but everything's just zeroed out, right? Where deleting it, you're actually going to physically get rid of the entire thing. In this case, I'm going to void the transaction, even though the record still says there is this. This gives you proof that, yes, you used check number 1506, but it's been canceled or voided, right? Even though you don't owe Haley Bros anything, we're still going to keep this transaction in there because, one, we don't owe Haley Bros anything, right? But we're letting us know that we voided this check, so this transaction doesn't necessarily exist anymore, okay? But I'm leaving the proof that the transaction, that yes, we did cut a check to them on the 6th of June, right? All right. So now that everything looks good, right, we now can go ahead and add in our second entry to reissue a new check for the correct amount of the $1171.87. So therefore, I'm going to re-enter in the same transaction I did at the top, which is coding it to the prepaid accounts and to the checking, but this time for the correct amount of the $1171. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and save some time here by copying and pasting a transaction I've already used or created. Okay, and I'm just going to modify a few things, right? Because now that we have this right here, we know that we need to cut a check for $1171.87, right? Because that is what the new down payment is supposed to be, okay? So now that we know that much information, we still need to cut the check first before finishing up our description, okay? So that means it says right here that we issued a brand new check. So therefore, June 7, I'm going to be cutting a brand new check for $1507 for the correct amount of $1171.87. So therefore, $1171.87, it's going to be to Hallie Bros. Okay. And once again, it's going to be down payment on brewer and grinder. But this time, since we issued a brand new check, we are going to be making changes to the actual description now, right? Because now we revised the purchase order to identify with us that we are issuing a different amount. The third down payment is still correct, but this time we used check number 1507. So the easy ability of using Excel is, yes, you have the ability to copy and paste. You have the ability to edit your transactions. So this why using some kind of software, some kind of computer software is going to give you the ability to delete your transactions, edit your transactions whenever you want, okay? So that's the huge thing here. Now, why did I choose not to edit that transaction to begin with? Well, in this case, right, we also have to take into consideration how many transactions ago was that transaction. Well, in this case, this is the original transaction. We did 1, we did 2 transactions, we did 3 transactions in between. Now, the likelihood that these transactions could affect your checking account is pretty high, right? But in this case, we were lucky that we didn't get to add or subtract anything to our checking account. So in this case, right, that is why, because we had so many transactions in between, that is why we chose to use the reverse and re-entry method to correct an error in your journal. But let's say you caught that mistake right on through. It's easy to fix because then if you were to just edit the numbers, then all of your numbers would equal up, match, and perfectly align. But that is exactly why, same thing here, right? When we understand when we're dealing with QuickBooks, right? This is the reason why you want to refrain from deleting your transactions. Okay, and this is exactly why you want to be very, very careful when editing your transactions as well, because if these 3 transactions dealt with the checking account, you might be messing up a calculation in between. So that's why it's very, very, you need to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing, and you know which accounts you are affecting when making changes to a transaction. Okay, so in this case, we were lucky that none of the 3 transactions that we dealt with didn't deal with checking. Okay, we got lucky. But in this case, since we already did the reverse and re-entry, that's what I wanted to show here is, well, I'm not going to take that row and write that and edit that transaction right then and there. I'm going to do the reverse and re-entry method to prevent any more errors from happening in your books. Okay. Now, and there you go. So so the first one was to reverse the entry. The second one is to enter in the entry correct the second time around. Okay? So there you go. All right? So my journal is now done, and now I need to do what I need to do is update my ledger accounts now. Okay? So here I'm already on my prepaid accounts. We're going to re-enter the information, but we're going to make some additional changes, right? We're going to say this time, this is another third down payment, okay? But this time it's on purchase order number 17303R for revised, right? Because we made changes to the second purchase, to the same purchase order, but this time we're going to refer it to the new purchase order, right? And if you want to put your check number for that's 1507. Okay? So general journal, we're still on page 2 here. And this time we're going to go ahead and debit for the 1171.87. Okay? And that should bring your account balance to $7,826.04 in your total prepaid accounts. Okay? Okay. And now I need to go up to add in my last transaction, which is for my checking account. Okay. To go ahead and put my new check in here. Okay, check number 1507. General journal page 2 still, and this time we're gonna credit our account for the 1171.87, okay? Because now I issued a new check, so that should bring your account balance now down to $10,189.42. Okay. So, yes.
Okay, so with this checking and everything, you just really just basically just write the checks in and nothing else. You just keep it like that?
Are you talking about the description?
Yeah, the item.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Because I could, with this check number, I can.
You do have, you can go check on the general journal so you can see whatever anything is, right?
That's correct, but also if I just, because I just coded my check number, I can pull up my check register and that should tell me the exact person I paid, why I paid them, how much I paid them, and so on and so forth. So you get a lot of more information by just the check number. But if you need to confirm what that transaction was for, that's where the general journal tells you, well, it's on page 2. And you would use the check number in your description for your journal to locate where that exact transaction is. So in this case, that's why I use my check number, because it's a very powerful reference.
Okay, so okay, that was my main thing, is because I'm like, I think I'm putting too much information in, which is taking me longer, of course. So I just wanted to be sure I was doing it pretty accurately.
Remember, this is your books, so if you want to be as detailed as possible, you can go ahead and be my guest, okay? Because there's no right or wrong answers here. If you really wanted to, you don't even have to fill anything in there. But remember, if your accountant is looking at your work and there's just too much to read, they can also take a look at your work and think it's too cluttered, right? So
Exactly.
it really just depends on who you're working with. But in this case, like again, if you're thinking it's too much information, this is your books. If it makes it more sense and more clear to you, by all means, you may do so. This is your books. It's no one else's books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your accountant doesn't have to, like for instance, my book and your book doesn't have to be the same. I like to use this reference points because this gives me enough details to let me know exactly what happened here, right? Just the check number, I'm able to pull my check register. I know because in my check register, I code who I wrote the check out to and why I wrote my check out for, right? I don't have to go into my journal to figure that out. Okay, so that's why. But in this case, that's my way of making what do you call a mnemonic device to show me this is my reference points. So again, your reference points and my reference points do not have to be the same. But if you feel more comfortable writing paragraphs and paragraphs, just know that that does take a lot more time. And so on and so forth, right? But again, you can do whatever you want because this is your books. You don't even have to write anything in there. If you're following along with me and you're just saying, well, I don't need to put anything in there, okay. As long as you put some kind of reference note, whether it's the journal number, then that's great. But again, if you do, because here's what's gonna happen. Oftentimes when students go through this, and if I'm moving too fast or they are moving too fast, either or, you're going to end up making a lot of more mistakes. And when you try to fix it, you don't know where to begin. So in this case, if I made a mistake just right now, it would take me forever to try to figure out where it is because I wouldn't know what my reference points are if I left it blank because I'm moving really quick, right? But in this case, like I said, your books are your books. And if you're doing this on the daily and you have a really good memory, then you'd be able to refer back in time. But in this case, we're looking at this kind of transaction as a daily occurrence. Meaning, I'm not doing all those weekly transactions in one day. I'm doing this on a daily basis. So imagine doing this for a whole year. Are you able to refer that I made a transaction in June when you're already in December?
You're not going to recall right offhand, but you're going to have it coded to it.
Exactly, and that's what the purpose of bookkeeping does is you're creating your own reference points for yourself, for nobody else. Okay? But if you leave it blank, then your accountant is looking over your work, you better be there side by side to let them know exactly what happened here. So in this case, so that is again, that is one of the things that I just want to let you guys know because again, as many students do go through this, they do make mistakes, and I am very guilty of it too. Sometimes I move too quick, I forget some things as well, and I end up making a mistake as well. Right? We all are human. That's the purpose of learning this. Okay? So again, whatever you want to put on your books, that's your business. Okay? So yes, if you want to be as detailed as possible, great. If you want to be very simple and concise, then so be it. If you want to put no description or anything on it, it's your books. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Thank you
So,
so much.
yeah, of course. So now that we are up to this point, right? I finished my journal. I just posted to my ledger. So now I need to go back to my subsidiary ledger because now I coded a new check and it's for a new amount. So this is what you can do. Now, as I told you guys, right? If you feel it is necessary to just eliminate this transaction, great, you may do so. But in this case, that means I'm going to be missing a transaction here that I coded to this particular person that I wrote them a check and voided it. Now, again, best rule of thumb is if you're going to be doing anything like this, refrain as much as possible from editing and deleting transactions. Just like QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks says the same thing. It is recommended that you should avoid trying to edit anything or delete anything, right? Because of the linkage of all the accounts. In this case, this is my reference point. Now, I don't want to make any changes because, again, we're on a different date, right? And we have different information now. My purchase order has been revised. My check number is different. My check amount is also different. So in this case, right, I would rather have you guys enter in a second brand new transaction because instead of having to go back and fix and edit everything that you already have here, that will be also a proof of a transaction that I dealt with this vendor and this is what happened. So it's giving me a paper trail of a track record of the transactions that I'm doing between between Haley Bros. And this is what happened. On the 6th, I sent them the wrong check. So now on the 7th, I'm sending them a new check. And that's what's going to be the most useful information because then again, it proves to your business that, you're being very detailed and being very careful instead of just editing things randomly, right? And this will also give you the upper hand on accuracy of accounting because you don't want to just delete a transaction. Then you're going to have to figure out why check number 1506 is missing, right? And especially if you don't code it to the exact vendor, right? You're going to override that transaction and it's going to appear like it never existed. So that means your check 1506 never existed. Your purchase order number 70303 never existed. So in this case, I'd rather have you go ahead and practice this so you can see a trail record of what you've done with Haley Bros. So in this case, you're going to type in the same thing, 1/3 down payment. However, I'm going to make minor changes, right? I'm going to say I wrote check number 1507 this time, right? And I'm also going to put in purchase order number 170303R because I revised it, okay? And we are still on General Journal page 2, okay? But this time, my amount is for $171.87, and I made a payment to that using check number 1507. Okay?
Is it purchase order or invoice number?
Purchase order.
Okay.
Because we never received an invoice from Haley Bros.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? And then, of course, yes, it is going to be tedious to see another zero balance, but at the end of the day, this is your proof of transaction. So you have to be very careful in regards to that. Okay? So then now we are officially taking care of business for Haley Bros. Okay? And we are now done. We issued them a new check, and that means we can go ahead and proceed to the very next one, right? We already voided the check, we revised the purchase order, so on and so forth, and we did the reverse and re-entry method, okay? So now we're done with Haley Bros. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to see how many more transactions go. We only have a couple more transactions left, okay? So there you go. So then now let's see what happened next. We have this transaction that says that we end up receiving from furniture store the desk set. Okay? Now this one's a little more easier to see because everything's already pre-calculated for you. You only purchase one item. So you got the tax, you got the shipping, and now you have the grand total for this desk set. Okay? So again, we received another bill from furniture store, right? Says right here, terms is net 15. It's sent to be delivered on the 7th of June, invoice number 71 for the one desk set that was quoted at $562. Plus, we got tax of $46.37 and shipping for $50, giving us a grand total of $658.37. Okay. So, how do I journalize this transaction? Okay. Always first go-to question is, what did I buy?
You bought an asset.
You bought an asset. What kind of asset?
Bought a desk.
You bought a desk. So, do I have a desk in my assets list?
Yes, you have desk. It's 13030.
Okay, good. Desk right here. Desk set 13030. And how am I paying for this?
It's accounts payable.
Correct, because I'm going to choose to pay later. I'm going to take advantage of those 15 days. So, therefore, let's go ahead and code this. So, we bought a desk set. Okay, and we're going to code this to accounts payable. And it was accounts payable is $20,000 for the grand total of $658.37. Okay. You have all the information that you need to go ahead and fill in the description, right? You received this from furniture store. You don't need to say that you bought a desk. Your proof of transaction is?
And just so you know, it's 608.37.
658. You forgot the $50
Oh, yes. Okay,
shipping.
I did. It's on there. It's split up on my page. Sorry.
No worries. Okay. Yeah. And we can also put that it's due in 15 days, right? We can put the terms there. But other than that, everything is pretty self-explanatory in terms of description, right? You know you bought a desk set. You have proof of the transaction because you received an invoice from the company billing you for invoice number 71 with all the details, right? So there you go. Now, as a general rule of thumb, before you continue, I do also recommend to try to also, you receive the item, right? Maybe the first thing you should do is update your purchase orders so you can get that out of the way, because oftentimes that is one of the more forgettable transactions you will often forget to do, okay, is to update your purchase orders. Now, again, any way that you do this, it's up to you, whether you wait till very last to do it, it's the first thing you do it, it's up to you, right? But in this case, because it is one of those common ones that you tend to forget, I'm going to go ahead and step away from the journal real quick to update my purchase orders, and then I'm going to complete the rest of my journal, okay? So purchase orders, once again, the desk set was the very first thing that you ordered, okay? So therefore, right, I'm going to go ahead and code this to today's date. Okay, today's date is the 7th, and we received an invoice, 71. Excuse me, invoice number 71. Okay. All right.
If the amount is different, do you change it or just leave it there because it's purchase order is purchase order, right?
Well, in this case, a purchase order, right, is what you request from the store. They're not going to tell you about shipping. They're not going to tell you about tax. They're not going to tell you anything because, you know, you're requesting to order it. So anything that is assumed, such as shipping and stuff, they're not going to know how much the shipping's going to cost until they bill you. Right? Yeah. Unless they have, unless their store is a flat fee. So if you go for instance, it doesn't matter how much you spend, and then on their website or wherever that you call them in, if they literally say whether you spend $50 or $100, the shipping is still going to be $50. Then you can go ahead and add that in there. But in this case, it's going to vary based on every item that you purchase. So as you saw, the furniture store charged you $100 for the counter and display shelves. But for this one, they only charge you $50. So in this case, no, you don't need to update your purchase order unless you know that the shipping is going to be a flat rate, which in this case, we weren't given that information. So no. But what you can do is you can verify, did the store charge you the desk set for the correct amount? And in this case, did they charge you $562?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. So that's also something that you want to also verify as well is, does the bill match your purchase order? Because oftentimes, especially when you buy things like coffee, right? That's what we're going to do. What if they sent you the wrong coffee? What if they sent you the wrong size of the coffee? What if they sent you the wrong item, right? Or what if they sent you the same exact item, but they told you, sorry, our prices have changed due to the market? Yes, that can happen anytime. Even though they quoted you originally for what it was, they can have the ability to charge you a higher price because they could say, well, sorry, I quoted you that last week, but this week the prices of coffee went up, right? So in this case, that will be a situation where you will possibly need to edit your purchase order for that reason. But in this case, no, we don't need to. I'm going to make it very sweet and simple. Okay? So back to your journal, right? Anything here? Nope, we already finished my journal, so I can go ahead and safely now plug it into my ledger and then plug it into my subsidiary ledger. So in this case, what did I do? I purchased a desk set. So that's an asset. Here you go, desk set. Today's the 7th. I purchased it for $562 even. The tax on it was $46.37 and $50 worth of shipping. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put in here $562 plus 8.25% tax, which got you your $42.37 or $46.37 plus $50 shipping. Okay. Post reference, we're still on the second page here for the total amount of $658.37. 46, yeah. Okay. Okay, so then now let's go ahead and plug it into the liability here. Okay, so liabilities, right? Because we placed it on an account. That we have invoice number 71 now. So, yeah, so now it got invoice number 71. We're still on General Journal page 2. Okay, and it's for the $658.37. Right, which should increase your accounts payable to $3,428.67. Right? Okay. So, of course, we need to also update Furniture Store because now I finally received my second bill to Furniture Store. So that means I'm going to owe Furniture Store more money. Okay? So today's the 7th. Okay? We received the desk set, right? So purchased desk set, which cost you $562 plus 8.25% tax, which was $46.07, right? And then plus $50 worth of shipping. Okay? It is 71. Journal. We're still on 2. And we still got another net 15, right? So in this case, because we end up receiving the same bill the same day, or the first bill the same day with the same exact terms, I already know that this one should be for the 22nd as well. Okay, we just add 15 days. Ooh. There we go, the 22nd of June. Okay, but this time it's for the $658.37. Okay, so if you ran your formula, right, so again, you don't have to do that. You can always click, pull, and drag. So now that I owe for this bill $658.37, right? Hold on. Let me take a look at. Oh, okay, I made a typo. It's supposed to be 46
37.
30, yeah. Okay. $658.37. Okay, so therefore that is exactly how much I owe to Furniture Store. So that's why down below in gray, overall you owe $2,228.67 for both of the bills. So again, you do have the ability to pay both bills simultaneously. Okay. All right. So now that I updated all of that, let's see what is next. Okay. Here it tells me that we're going to start the water and the Las Vegas City Services and it's going to be through NV Utilities. So any transaction there?
No.
No, because you're just notified that the water and city services are going to be turned on. So therefore, you should be expecting your bill to have a water bill, and then whatever cost it takes to have the city fees. So again, for garbage disposal, whatever it is, okay. And then last but not least, we got the trial balance. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop here. When we come back from the break, we will do the trial balance, and then we will proceed to week 2. Okay? So save your work. Okay? And yes, and we'll do the trial balance when we come back.